better.
Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, Ravi.
Yeah.
It is live streaming now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Good.
I'm not able to see Madam Swati, ma'am. Are you here, ma'am?
Shall I?
Yeah, it's.
Good evening. Good evening. Yeah, Ravi.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
It is live streaming now.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not able to see Madam Swati, ma'am. Are you
No,
here?
Swati is not there, I think.
Yeah, I'll check, sir. I'll just check.
Yeah, it just has to join.
Yeah.
She's just logging in, sir.
Yeah, I tried her. She is not picking up.
No. She's just logging in. She's
Yeah,
just
okay.
spoke to her.
I tried her just now. Swati, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. How are you?
Cool, ma'am.
Hi,
President.
Swati. How are you? Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, fine.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So can you just share your slide to check if it's working, ma'am, for a second?
I don't have any slides actually.
Perfect. Okay,
I'm
that's
just
fine.
speaking today, so
That's fine. It's okay. That's fine. So then we can just start in a minute, ma'am. Just hold.
anytime, no hurry at all. So,
Good evening, ma'am. Sujata.
hi Sujata, how are you?
I'm good, ma'am. Thank you.
So just a quick question. So most of them are students or already working, or are they professionals or a mix of all of them today?
We have entrepreneurs, students, and professionals participating in the event.
Oh, great. Okay.
Almost in equal numbers.
And before I start this thing, I just wanted the audience. So please ask as many questions and please post in the chat. I'm happy to answer more questions. I think if I spoke and you just listened, I think very little will get. But no question. So any
Let's
question?
make it more interactive.
Yeah. So, yeah, ma'am, actually, already around 100 folks are there on the Zoom, and it's also being transmitted on YouTube. So everybody can put on the chat box. It's enabled in that way.
Oh, great. Fantastic. So no, I'm just requesting everybody to post more questions. I promise you it'll be a lot more exciting and engaging if you posted more questions than me speaking. So would welcome everybody to ask lots of questions to me.
So let me just start. Just give me a second.
Sure. No hurry at all. Sure.
A very good evening to one and all. Welcome to the CMA Monday Musings number 395. CMA Monday Musings is the flagship program of the Coimbatore Management Association, having run non-stop for over a decade. Perhaps no other local management association in India can boast of such a flagship program. Today we have a very eminent speaker. I will request our esteemed president, Mr. Jaykumar Ramdas, to introduce the guest. Over to you, JR.
Yeah. It's a pleasure to introduce Swati, who's not only a good friend, a good family friend. Welcome, Swati, to the Monday Musings of CMA. As Prashant and I had already said that this is one of the longest running programs. We have been having this Monday Musings even during COVID times. And consistently, we have been having at least about 75 to 100 participants. But today, I think we are going to break all records of having more number of participation in this meeting. This shows how popular you are, and people are looking forward to hearing from you this evening. We are talking about redefining entrepreneurship, a future imperative. As you all know, entrepreneurial activity has undergone a sea change in India over a period of time. The industry structure, the new technologies, deregulation and privatization, increasing consumerism, increasing flow of capital and information, rapid rise of service sector, government incentives and subsidies, even government policies like demonetization has redefined entrepreneurship in the last decade. Today's transformational entrepreneurship is essential in supporting the systemic and socio-economic growth and development of our country. To speak more about this, we have with us Ms. Swati Rohit. She's a mechanical engineer from University of Virginia and is the Chief Operating Officer of SNR Sons Trust, which was started in the year 1970. And she's also the CEO of School Basics. As you all know, SNR Sons Trust runs many well-known education institutions and also has a renowned 1,000-bedded hospital named Ramakrishna Hospitals. School Basics is a retail tech platform that helps unorganized school commerce retailers conduct online business. She's also the founder of CEO of Health Basics, a pediatric healthcare platform, and past chair of Flow and Young Indians of Coimbatore chapter. As chair of Young Indians Coimbatore chapter, she launched gift organ program at national level across 42 cities. It set a Guinness record for maximum science up to 8 hours period. She's credited with launching Think Equal, an international program on gender equality at 65 government schools in Coimbatore. Ms. Swati has worked in vertically integrated premier spinning mills and weaving mills and is a sport enthusiast and a hands-on mother of a 15-year-old son, Master Rana. So with these few words, I request Swati to address our members and the guests. Thank you. You can go ahead, Swati.
Yes, start. Okay, great. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in today to hear me speak. I hope I do justice to all of your time. And just before we start, just wanted to get an idea for how much time we have, Anna.
Prashant, we have about 30 minutes or
It's 40 minutes.
40 minutes, yes.
Great. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that I'm, within time. So just to give you a little bit of a background on who I am and what I do, I know Anna had very nice, thank you so much for the very kind introduction. So I'll give you a very simple, story of where I all started and, and I'll talk as much about my failures today as, anything that I have succeeded in or had moderate success in. I'm still not, as successful as most of the people you've probably heard, but maybe if I can help somebody and inspire them to, think bigger and in their journey, that would be, what I would really be happy if I did through this conversation. Yeah. And as I had said earlier, would love to answer a lot more questions than me just speak and you guys hear. So, but I'll start with a little example of how my journey started, where I started, what I do currently. Yeah. So I was actually born and brought up in Coimbatore. I actually my family runs a textile industry. It was from the textile industry. I was very specific growing up that I didn't want to do textiles. So I didn't do textiles like the rest of my family in college. I went and became a mechanical engineer. So I just signed up there without really knowing what I wanted to do. So the reason I bring this up is because, everybody always says to a lot of the children, a lot of the younger kids, as well as when we're growing up, you keep hearing saying, you need to decide on what you want to do, in college, and that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And so let me tell you, I started in mechanical engineering, but today I'm in healthcare. So no connection at all. So, so I did 4 years of mechanical engineering, came back to Coimbatore, and what I was really interested in. So genuinely, I was struggling for lots of years, right? For some reason, a lot of people really, get into something, get into a job, and they really know that this is what they want to do. But I actually struggled to find what it is that I want to do, and what is it that I'm good at. So think of me like, in the beginning, I started off as jack of all trades. I could do anything. I used to do sales, I used to do finance, and I was okay with everything. But I didn't really enjoy what I was doing. So when I came back, I was looking for different things to do. And again, I wanted to go away from convention, from my family's textile business. So what I decided to do is, for me, what was interesting is anywhere else in the world, if you see any business you take, suppose you want to do a business in selling milk, right? So there'll already be an established supply route. So what you will do is you will supply to that person who will take the milk to different, cities, different districts, whatever it is. But if you realize in India, suppose I wanted to sell milk or even say, biscuits, I made biscuits, right? What happens is every single person has to hire a sales team, and you have to go from place to place and set up your market. So this whole distribution channel, right, in India does not exist. Very few products you can say you can make and tomorrow you can start selling, right? So one of the biggest challenges, I thought, no matter what you took in India, the hardest thing was that you had no distribution channel. So that actually bothered me, and I didn't know much about distribution at all. I knew nothing, right? I knew nothing at all. I did some mechanical engineering degree, and my specialization was heating, refrigeration, and cooling. So I knew nothing about this. So I said, all right, I'm going to teach myself and how to build one distribution system, what's really working in India. So I went and actually convinced my dad that we had to start, with Indian Oil distribution agency, right? So at that point, they were also looking for somebody to do industrial lubricants as well as. So we set up 2 petrol bunks, and then we started doing industrial lubricant distribution. So that was one of the best learnings of my life. And I'll tell you why, because Indian Oil actually has a very organized, one of the few organizations in the country, other than Hindustan Lever or Colgate, somebody like that, who's actually built that distribution system across the entire country. And if you've traveled to the north, it's so different from what we see in the south. Central India is very different, east is different, west is different. So you have to really learn. And what better way to learn than somebody who's done something where they're able to do the same thing across the entire country. So that's the reason I started that. And it taught me very well on how to set up a distribution system. How did they go about picking areas? How did they go about very well a training program? Whoever came, they put them through a training program. And how did they do all of that? So that was a lot of learning and understanding for me. I did that for a couple of years, and then I actually had a very I got married, and then we went back and did 1 year of masters in garmenting. So I came back to India, and when I came back, and I actually had my first child, my only child, Rana. So when I had that child, I actually had this odd incidents where I had a very bad pregnancy and ended up spending almost 1 year in and out of ICU. Actually, it was 1.5 years in and out of ICU, multiple blood transfusions. So that was the first time really I had spent more than maybe a day in a hospital ever in my life. So while I was lying there, my family actually is part of the charitable trust that owns the hospital. I actually realized how bad some of the things were for a patient. It all started with that, when you're a patient there and you have to spend months together in ICU or a regular room, and you're literally like, you realize all the nurses have attended you, all the doctors have attended on you. So you start to see that some things can be done better and how a patient really struggles. So I actually went back, and the first thing I told my family was, listen, I don't think I want to, I actually want an active role in the hospital, and I want to see how we can improve the patient experience. So let me give you one understanding about when you run a hospital. Today, everything in India is very centered around the doctor. The doctor feels like he's God, and at the end of the day, all of us listen to whatever they say, don't question whether the experience is nice or not. And whenever you go to a hospital, right, first thing you go there, you wait for half a day, full half a day is gone just to do one consultation. And I think all of us can say that we've minimum spent half a day. And if you have to do some diagnostic test or some scan, then the full day is gone, right? And what happens? We'll sit there and wait in that chair and that waiting room the entire time, and very confusing also, right? When you go into a hospital, you don't understand, who to go, where to go. 100 times, you have to ask somebody, and then they tell you, go here, go there, go to the billing counter, go here. So there's, for the patient, it's a horrible experience. And I started there, and I started with a nursing care. 15 years ago, when I gave birth to my child, I thought, the nurses are not at all trained to be nice to us. They're so rude, and, they scare that patient. And, so many experiences actually opened my eyes up to how it can be better for the patient, because I'd also had a little bit of experience seeing abroad how, a nursing care is given, abroad how a hospital is. So when I actually spoke to my family, they were very kind, and they said, okay, you start something. If you want, you start working with the nursing department to improve how they, interact with the patients. So what I did, that's where I started in the hospital. And I said, okay, let's see how I can improve patient experience, teach the nurses to be kinder. It's also a very difficult job. You have to understand doctors and nurses, honestly, they are dedicating their lives to all of us. And, only when I went in there and saw how much time they spend, and, and how patients react, every patient in there is in pain, right? Nobody is there happy or anything. So even if you give the best customer service or best service to them, it's still not good enough. So that's when we started, and then we started doing nursing training programs. From that, I started working with doctors on a few more programs in the obstetrics and gynecology department. And slowly, I actually found that this is something I really enjoy. And it didn't, so like people tell you have to have a dream, you need to know what where you want to be in 10 years, 5 years. I knew nothing. So I completely struggled for the first 10 years of my life to find what I'm good at, or what interests me. So, that's great. I didn't have a grand plan or a dream. So I said, all right, I'm going to try and do whatever, I have in front of me and do it well. So, and let me learn from this experience. So I slowly learned a little bit and a little bit more about the hospital. And 10 years later, I was the COO of the hospital, little by little. All of my experience helped me. And so I was really enjoying doing what I was doing at the hospital. I actually left the hospital to start a startup of my own. So you might ask me, why would you do something like that when you have such a great position, and doing all this great work with the hospital? So genuinely, I came in touch with a lot of startup founders, right? So today, I'm sure you heard about Swiggy IPO, $1 billion. And of course, you would have heard about the Nykaa IPO. And all of this is very exciting, right? So for me, I've always been very curious to try new things. For some reason, I never take the easy way of doing things, right? So when I told my family that, listen, I want to leave and I want to start a startup, the entire family was so shocked and nobody supported me. And I have to be honest about that. All of them said, listen, if you want to do a startup, you put in your own money, you do whatever you want, you raise your own funding, but we are not going to support you. They were very clear on that. And, one thing I've always been is never upset at my family, because I'm always of the opinion that if it's my dream, I have to finance it. If my family, it's not my family's dream, right? So you shouldn't, one thing I'd like to point out here is never have that expectation that either your husband or your father or your mother or your auntie or your granny or somebody has to support you in this. It's okay if, they don't feel that, they don't believe in the business, because at the end of the day, only you understand what you see in that, right? And it'll take a while for you to communicate that and for them to see that you're serious about what you're going to do. So never be upset with your family that, oh my God, they didn't support me. Should I be upset? For me, it never crossed. And I've heard a lot of friends actually get upset at family for not supporting them. For me, it was never a choice. I accepted it quite well. And something that I really value is if you take family money, if you take help, right, it comes with its own set of challenges. So you have to. Recently, I heard a startup entrepreneur who said it the best, right? So if you take money from anyone, then you 100% have to answer their calls and do at least some things that they ask you to do. So if you want complete freedom, I firmly suggest that even if you have to start very, very small, please start small and don't take money from anyone unless you really need it, or you're okay with having to answer their calls and do what they ask you to do at least a few times, right? So that was an important lesson. And so I started a startup with somebody who'd come back from Bangalore. He was also looking for something to do, my co-founder. And we started this business in schools. So I had actually worked very shortly in textiles. We knew a little bit about e-commerce. So we decided to do an e-commerce site. Not sure if you guys know what Shopify is, right? So basically it's a site where anybody who wants to sell products can start a website immediately, right? So they give you the framework and the template. You can just put your products. Everything is there. So similarly, we did that for schools. And we actually did fairly well. So we established in the 5 southern states, we had about 1,800 people who would, were transacting through us on the website. So all of that was going well. And then COVID happened. So what do you do, right? I mean, schools, nobody wanted uniforms, books, shoes, bags. So all of our merchants pretty much were doing really badly. So we had to find a way to kind of keep them afloat, which would also keep us afloat. So, but primarily, really, we saw merchants go through a lot of difficulties because they didn't have anything to pay, and for their families, they were completely dependent on the money from schools. Schools didn't pay them because parents didn't pay schools. So it was like a cycle, right? So what we did is we actually found that, we found suppliers for PPE kits, and then we decided to get these merchants to start selling that to the local, hospital shops, all of that, and we helped them with that. So at least they were able to, augment their income and do that. So I actually, at that point, once again, I was back in medical, this thing with the PPE equipment and dealing with how merchants reached out to hospitals. So we were helping them with many things. And that's when I realized truly my heart was still in health, right? So I really wanted to come back and do something else in health. And so that's when I exited this School Basics to my co-founder, who's still running it, and it's doing fairly well. And I also, another thing about me is, and this is what I'm saying is personal ambition, right? One thing that in the beginning, if you guys are all thinking of your entrepreneurial journey, right? I want you guys to sit down and write what you're good at, right? Second thing I want you guys also to do is, and this comes from experience, please work a couple of years before you start anything. Unless you're like a Mark Zuckerberg or a Bill Gates who built something in college, right, or school, and that's really revolutionary, tech-led, and really, really, amazing, that the whole world will one day wake up. So please take these words very seriously or not, that everybody is able to build a very solid business only if you have some experience in some field, or at least the field you want to do something in, right? So say you want to start a restaurant. I urge you guys all to go out there and work in a restaurant for at least 2 to 3 years. And that's when you understand, what is right about the restaurant, what is wrong, what can you do better, how can you do it differently and better. So, that's one piece of advice I'd give everybody. And second piece of advice I'd give is, even if you find out what you want to do and all of this, right? I want you to write down what you're really good at, right? And what you're not good at. So I actually did this exercise. Somebody made me do this exercise before I started my second startup, right? So, what I realized was that it's great that I am very aware of what I'm good at. So I'll tell you guys what I wrote on that piece of paper, right? What am I good at? I'm actually good at doing sales relationships. I'm good at, looking at the balance sheet and being able to figure out stuff. What am I not good at is doing day-to-day operations. So that's something I realized along the way that, I need help with. So like this, and what am I not good at? I don't know I've never coded in my life. So I really don't know anything about technology and digital, right? I know very broadly the framework, but if I had to be innovative, be, some cutting edge, I could never do that because I don't understand tech that well. I'd never built anything in my life, right? So those are the two biggest problems I saw. So this is how I went about when I started my, second firm, Health Basics. That's how. So now that I knew what I was good at, I said, okay, these are things. But for what I was not good at, I actually went out and found co-founders. So I found one co-founder who actually was very good at operations, and that was his area of strength. And I found another co-founder who actually was a full tech, he was a digital, marketing expert. So these were the three different things that a business needs, right? One is somebody to run day-to-day sales and operate, and then operations, and you need digital if you're going for a digital business, right? If not, then you should just do these two functions. Somebody who's good at finance and sales, somebody who's good at operations. So you need these two parts at least. So if you're not good at something, it's good to admit that you're not good at it, and it's okay. So I'm telling you right away in front of you that I can't do these things, and I'm very open about that, because if I could do everything, even then I wouldn't have enough time, right? So it worked out really well with my two co-founders, that they had these complementary skills, right? So another thing I want to say is, every business, I really urge all of you to go out there and find somebody else to do it with, right? And please, don't be a solo co-founder. It is the most difficult thing in the entire world. It is a very tough job. I mean, sure, startups look very glamorous from the outside, all the fame and all of that, but let me tell you, there is nothing glamorous about extreme hard work. I have never worked this hard in my entire life. So if you ask me today, I work basically at least 12-hour days on a minimum, and that's on a on a good day, so that I only do 12 hours. So and my day starts really early. So this is what I say: find a co-founder, because it's very, very lonely journey as well, because there are lots of ups and downs. One minute you'll be on top of the world because you would have landed the biggest project, and the next minute, this is how the startup world is. This is how entrepreneurship is, right? The next minute, it'll be a really, really big problem that, you either, if you don't solve it, then you're finished tomorrow. So that's what I'm saying. The highs are really high, the lows are really low, and it's a very lonely journey. And again, it's difficult for a family member to actually understand what you're going through, because it's hard for you to explain why you were so high yesterday and today you're so low, and then tomorrow maybe you'll be on top of the world. So again, it's very difficult, right? So if you have a co-founder who is there to kind of support you, understand, because day to day they're seeing what is going on with you, and helping you take 50% of the burden off. I highly recommend everyone go out there and find a co-founder. But that being said, if you have a really bad co-founder who does just talking and doesn't actually, so you have to be very clear on, this is what my expectation from you is. You need to do all of these things, and and make sure that you find the right person, and you've worked with them at least for a couple of years before you give them stake and bring them on as co-founders. Because if you have a bad co-founder, there is nothing as painful as that either. So it has both pluses and minuses. Okay, so that's one piece of advice I'll give you. And second, as I was telling you, is make sure that you work, and also remember one more thing, right? You might actually pick a really great business, and you might work really, really hard, and you are giving it your 200%, and so is your co-founder. But sometimes, and genuinely, if you don't have luck, things just don't work. And I've seen that happen with many people. They're the smartest people in the world, like double degrees from IIT, and they had it all. They were in the right sector, but somehow timing and luck have a lot to do with your business. So I urge you also to look at the timing of your business, right? So see what others are doing. If it's radically different, then you better be willing to put in extra amount of time and effort if it doesn't work out. So that's something. And on a personal front, right, I always say this, two things I urge everyone to do, and that's always helped me in my life, right? One is to exercise every day. I really feel that you have to take care of your health. It's very easy to just sit there and say, I'm too tired, I'm too this thing. But trust me, if you can do half an hour a day, at least walk for half an hour a day or an hour, because that really you will see that, that's a huge stress relieving factor. And second is, your health is really important. You might not realize it now, but it catches up with you very fast, especially with the stress angle, right? And second thing is, find something that you can like a hobby, or whether you like singing, or it can be anything, right? You can like some making paper origami, it can be knitting, it can be anything, doesn't matter. No one can judge you. So it has to be something that excites you and is able, at that really bad moment when you're really down at work, right, and nothing is going your way, if you do this hobby, it should actually transport you out of that bad world. Please find something that you're passionate about. That one thing, doesn't matter what it is, even if it's going and watching TV for 1 hour, just go and do it. You need to find that one thing that will remove you from bad situations. So that's something also I stress to everybody I meet, saying, find yourself that one passion, one thing that you can do when your day is really going bad. Yeah. And one more thing is, don't rush, right? You have all the time in the world. Don't let anyone tell you that, you're too old. See, I'm 43. I just started my business. And I tell everybody, it's about how much energy and how much enthusiasm that you have. It doesn't matter if somebody's built a business at 18, at 20, at 40 or 50. it has to be the right time for you, and no one can, tell you that you're too old or too young or anything like that. If you feel at 20 you can go out there and build a business that you'll be proud of, go ahead and do it. And at 50 or 60 you should still go ahead and do it, because there are lots of examples of people like Falguni Nair of Naika. She started at 50, and she's built $1 billion company. So you can definitely do it. So don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And I told you that I'd also talk about my failures a little bit. So almost 10 years ago, I tried to do a travel startup, and actually a pilgrimage travel startup. And I'll tell you many reasons why that went wrong, right? One is, first thing, I didn't understand very well how pilgrimages. I rarely go on pilgrimages, right? Somebody brought me the idea, this co-founder of mine, and he was really into pilgrimages. I really wasn't. So what happened was that I decided to do it anyway because I was excited, like I said, okay, this looks like a very exciting opportunity. Let me try it and all of that, and tried it. So two things went very wrong. One is we didn't understand the business very well, or, I have to be honest, if your business is not making money from day one, please don't do it. You have to know how you're going to make money at least from day one, right? If you think that you'll give everything for free for very long, it's all great, right? I mean, if you hear Swiggy, Zomato, all of these guys, it's all great. But they also had a path to profitability from day one, right? They chose to discount it. That's another thing altogether. But from day one, your business should make money, or at least you should know how you're going to make money, right? So don't please go into a business saying, I'll start a content website and maybe tomorrow I can sell products and make money. No. From day one, please know how you're going to make money and what you're going to do. So that's something that, I stress to everyone, saying, know where your money is going to come from, and don't start a business if it's going to be loss making from day one. Yeah. And, last but not least, I would say, don't seek happiness, it'll come to you. Trust me. Keep busy and make yourself happy. And you should, at the end of the day, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, let me tell you, you better love what you're doing. Otherwise, it can be a very, very painful journey, because as I was telling you, lots of lows, right? So don't seek happiness. It will come. Just put in the hard work and enjoy what you're doing. Times are tough, but know that it always gets better. It's just in the moment, and this too shall pass. And don't ever let anyone tell you you're not good enough. You should dream really, really large, and you should go out there and get what you want. So I'd love some questions. Happy to, start with questions. Should I go through?
Yeah, ma'am, there is one in the chat box already.
Sure.
Rajiv, I'll just read it for you.
Sure.
Can you tell the few businesses that will flourish in Coimbatore in the next few years?
Sure. I'm glad you asked me that question. So what I have seen is what is Coimbatore good at, right? So are we talking, Rajiv, are you asking about, see, I don't know too much about offline businesses, and I'm going to be very honest about that. So would it be okay if I just gave you responses about online businesses or, tech-led businesses, because that's where my area of expertise is. So I can't really talk too much about startup businesses, but what I have seen, that's done well, or is software as service. Like recently you would have seen Cove.co, right? Reason they have done well is because they understood what they came with clients from their previous business, started up in Coimbatore. And one thing that's really great about Coimbatore is the quality of tech talent that is available is equal to anywhere else in the country. So if you're going to start a business that's tech-led, it's a good time to start in Coimbatore, but always remember, pay well and keep your employees happy. So, it's okay to give them a little bit extra and keep them happy and this thing. So I think tech-led businesses are great. What I haven't, come across is, I really think healthcare is a huge area where we should look at. And if you are looking at manufacturing specifically, I think Jekvarana will have more to add to that. So sorry, but I don't know much about manufacturing and I can't comment there. But if you're looking at tech-led businesses, then look at travel. Travel is really taking off. Fintech, I would not advise out of Coimbatore only because we don't have the expertise. We don't have, the tech talent or the financial services expertise. Neither is the money in Coimbatore. Again, direct to consumer businesses, like if you wanted to start a skincare brand, if you wanted to start, a footwear brand, anything that's, that you can sell to consumers, this is the best time to start something like that in the next 6 months. But if you don't start in the next 6 months, honestly, that window also will close because lots of businesses are coming up in that. So, and any business that you start truly, whether it's direct to consumer, whether it's product, whether it's skincare, whether it's, food, eatables, right? Always try and go and see who your competitors are, right? So if you have a competitor, either you have to compete on price or quality, or you have to be very different in the market, right? So if you don't have any of these three, so please don't go and pick a segment which is so crowded. Already there are lots of players, and if you can't make a differentiated product, don't think that if you can copy a product and sell it 10 rupees less, everybody will rush into your door. That's not a good plan. But I advise you to go into either a branded product of some sorts, whether it's in whatever that interests you. Is a great time to start up in Coimbatore, because we have manufacturing expertise here for anything, whether it's skincare, whether it's footwear, whether it's food, and automation is great here too. So all of that can be done very quickly. And and healthcare also. So whether you want to do healthcare devices or health tech, if you want to build products out of Coimbatore, that's fantastic place to be. And so that's my response to that.
Yeah. See, ma'am, I think there is another thing. SNR Trust this is from Dr. KRS. SNR Trust is doing a great job related to hospital and dental college. Why is it not into medical education yet?
Right. So actually, we took a very conscious decision not getting into medical education. Main reason being, once you start a medical college, right, it's very difficult to separate the hospital from a medical college hospital, right? Then the students have to come in and actually start, interacting with patients and all of that. And that's a very different business from what we do, right? We're not good at medical education. And when we considered it, or when licenses were available, we realized that it's a very capital intensive business as well. So unless you're generating huge amounts of cash flows, it's a very difficult business and a very expensive business to get in. So that's one of the main reasons, and I'm being honest about that. So
I think the entire presentation was straight from the heart.
One more question, ma'am. Sujata here.
Hi, Sujata.
Ma'am, as an entrepreneur, you would have faced a lot of difficulties, but in particular to gender, being a woman entrepreneur, what are the challenges you faced? I mean, ours is a conventional society as far as Coimbatore is concerned. So can you just throw some light on that?
So my first problem was that, wherever you go, right, there are very few women in any function or meeting or anything, right? And in India, it's still, pardon my being frank about this, but if you went and you were actually standing there among men and having a conversation, you'd still get people who look at you kind of funny, or, like the men will look at you thinking that you're there and they can't really be normal selves. Then, the other women, whoever see you, always judge you and say, oh, she's standing with the men all the time and, like only interacting. Does she think she's there? So you constantly get judged for that, right? And second thing, in the venture capital community, when I tried to raise capital, right, that's when I realized there is a huge stigma against women founders. And, I'd be lying if I said that, it's easy. If a man had to jump like, a 1 meter hurdle, for women, actually, they'll build like a wall that's, probably 1 kilometer high. So that's how high you have to jump. So you have to be perfect in what you do. You have to hit the ball out of the park and you have to be outstanding. Otherwise, even today, it's extremely difficult even to raise 1 rupee of capital. So, and I've faced it, at least I've jumped through one hurdle. I'm here at the second trying to raise my my Series A. So now all I'm doing is, but it's improving. I'm not saying, it hasn't improved, but still I feel like women are the biggest barriers to other women. And I'm saying that, hoping that our generation will do better, because I've seen a lot of times that women are really hard on other women, especially today in the corporate world. And I actually went and asked one of these women who was particularly not nice to me, right? And she didn't even know me. First time she was meeting me, and she was just like, don't expect any favors because I'm a woman. She started off with that conversation. So I said, what circumstances led you to be so, critical for other women? And so she was explaining to me, saying that, listen, the world is never easy for women. I had to do so many things and I had to be so many hurdles to get here. So why should I cut you any favors? So I looked back at her and I said, if you had some kind women who actually opened doors for you, wouldn't that have changed your life? So similarly, don't you think you should actually change other women's lives? And I think men and women, we should be more aware, of these circumstances. Women today are extremely hardworking, and whenever I hire somebody, who's a woman, who to work with me in my organization, I start with actually trying to tell them that they are representative of all the women here, right? So in this country, so if they leave a job and be disrespectful to the job and not do a knowledge transfer, and just up and 2 days later they just say, I'm going to get married, or I don't want this job, then it affects thousands of women who come after them. So I tell them, please be very aware that, whatever your actions are going to affect all of womankind. So if you're going to leave the job, it's great to get married and it's normal and natural to have children, but if you're going to do that, be responsible. Find somebody, for that job, train them, and then leave. So that's something I always tell women, because I think we should also be aware of the, things that we're doing that's detrimental to our own cause, right? So we have to accept that, and it's not easy. It's very, very hard for the women entrepreneurs out there. I'm sorry to say this, but, as I said, hopefully you'll run into some kind women who are there to open doors for you as well. Like I try to do, I genuinely try to do that for every woman I meet. So, and try to give it my best.
Yeah. Ma'am, there's a question from Mr. B. Vijay Kumar. As a former Indian Oil divisional manager, I would like to thank you for your earlier comments on the distribution system of the company. Just curious, what is the current situation of the servo lubricant business and the petrol pumps?
So actually, we hired out a professional, to CEO to run that business. So because I wanted to exit it, so I wasn't irresponsible. I didn't say I want to do something else and run away. So one of our a professional actually runs it for us, Mr. Vijay Kumar.
Yeah, ma'am, I have a question. How do you balance between your family business and your startup in terms of time management?
So I actually don't work. I have to be honest, you have to pick and only do one thing. So you can't say that you'll do your family business and this and all these things, right? So you either do this or that, don't mix, because you can't be in multiple places at the same time. So I firmly suggest that you only pick one thing to do and do it well. So.
Hema ma'am of Ampere, being in Coimbatore, how were you able to raise the equity for school basics? How was the journey, and what are the do's and don'ts to scale up? This is from Hema ma'am of Ampere.
Yeah. Hi, Hemaka. I hope you're well. So, so I'll tell you where I actually, a lot of learning, right, from when I raised capital. So one thing was, we just think that we should go and raise capital, right? Suppose you need, say, I'm just giving you a random number, right? Say you need 10 lakhs or 1 crore for your business, right? So you just say, okay, you make a list, you're saying, okay, how I need to go to these venture capitalists. So let me explain how venture capital works, right? So you actually have to do some homework on the funding ecosystem. some funds invest only in some types of businesses. So even if you're the best business and most radical one, if the fund is not investing in those type of business, they won't look at you, and it will be a no and a waste of your time. So suppose I'll give you an example. Say today you're making, food product. Yeah. So what I would do is first go and look through all the funds who have funded anything in the food or the direct to consumer, that is, it is B2C, right? So I would make a list of all of them, and then I'd go and see if they have funded any product that's similar to mine. Those funds will not fund you, because there is a rule in venture capital where they will not fund any business which is in competition with the business they funded. So you should cross off all of those and then only apply to the ones where you feel like they are interested in this sector. Otherwise, please don't waste your time on doing this. And if you're having difficulty, right, reaching to any of the funds, right, I would actually suggest, depending on the size that you are, if you're raising small, below, say, $500,000, right, say you're raising 3 to 4 crores or under, then I would go first to the angel funds. There are lots of angels, Indian angels, there's Chennai angels, there's Harvard angels. There are a good list of angel networks that you can go to. Second, also, other than the angel networks, there are also individual people who fund. So if you're going to start a business and you want to raise capital, I firmly suggest you read a little bit in your story, go and look at, there are new things called Inc. 42, Cap Table, all of these periodicals and journals, so that you're able to understand the sector which, that you are looking at to raise funding in. Right. So that is something that's very important. So make sure that you do your homework a little bit. And also, second thing is, I would get some advice from somebody who's raised capital before, to put your deck together and your financial projections, right? So if you're in a very smaller state, like say you're raising under, 2 or 3 crores, right? Then your projections don't matter so much, but you need a few things in your pitch deck. So that's something that's very important. Please pay attention to the format of pitch decks. Today, lots of resources are out there online that you can see, and there are lots of examples of companies who've been funded, right? They've put their pitch decks out. See those to kind of make that your pitch deck, right? Use similar language, use similar, points to actually highlight your business. So that's another thing, because that matters. That's what they first see, right? Even before they hear you and how passionate you are about your business. And so I go out there and meet as many funds as possible, but do your homework, and don't waste your time on funds that probably won't fund you. So that's one thing. And second thing is build a good pitch deck, spend time, understand what you're pitching, and understand your market size, all of these things. Please do your homework on these things, because you don't want to turn up at an investor's thing with just numbers that are not true, right? Because they are subject matter experts as much as you. So you have to understand that if you're going to make up market size numbers, they will immediately know, and that will be a negative thing for you. So be very thorough in researching all your numbers. When you put something on there, it should be true, right? Don't make up stuff, because during the course of the pitch sessions, right, it will come out, because it's not like one time you're going to meet them pitch and like they're going to give you 2 crores. They will also do homework on you. They will do homework on your business. They're going to do homework, on your team. So it's very important that, even if you're going as a solo founder, then you have a team where you can demonstrate that you can build a scale. So simply, if I went out there and simply I just turned up there and said, listen, I have all this experience and I'm going to build $1 billion company, no one is going to even look at me and give me even 5 rupees. The only way I can get people to fund me, and reason that people are willing to fund today, is because they know that you have the team, the expertise. Tomorrow, if they give you the money, then you should be able to run really fast and get to those goals, right? But if you say, after you give me money, let me go and look for all these things, then it's kind of difficult for them to believe that you can build that. So simply, a lot of people go around saying, I want to build a unicorn, without understanding what it takes to get there, right? So that's another thing. Please focus on your team, because there's only 2 things or 3 things that are very important when it comes to a venture capital. One is the market size. Is it large enough, Or, second is the team good? And 3 is, if it's in the beginning stages, right, they're only betting on you and your team. So that has to be the biggest strength. So you need to understand the sector you're getting into. You should have had some experience, and that really helps in funding. So, and if anybody wants any help, please reach out. I'll put my email down in the chat box after this. If you require any help in, funds, anything at all, like in terms of reaching out to venture capital funds or anybody that I can help with, I'm always happy to make the time to help you on the same.
There is a question, 1 minute, there's a question from Rajiv. How MBA is essential to become a business leader or a CEO, or will a person with good experience reach these positions?
So truth is, I'm not, I don't have an MBA myself. So Sujata actually called because I know this is the Coimbatore Management Association and most people tend to have MBAs. So I only have 1 degree. I have one I'm a bachelor's in mechanical engineering, a BE in mechanical engineering, and that's it. And no, it's not important. Like my co-founder actually is a 10th standard dropout. So you don't require, but it really helps if you have, today, honestly speaking, in the Indian ecosystem, the companies that get funded most are the ones from IIT. And this is 9 out of 10 companies, the founders are from IIT. And so we are all the others who are not IIT or who haven't had from Harvard or Columbia or one of the major institutions, that we're fighting for that 1 out of 10 seats. So it gets more competitive for us, but by no means, if you have a great business and you really understand the sector, then they will put money on you 100%. It's only when your business is not strong, then they'll have to look at all these other things. So yeah, it helps to have a degree from IIT or a business, an MBA from a really good business school or from Ashoka or any of these really class 1 institutions. So
I think there are no questions in the chat box nor in the.
I have a question.
Yeah, please go ahead. Mauna, yes. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, this is Mauna, ma'am. So how do you see yourself 5 years from now? So I'm actually curious to know this.
Great, Mauna. So I'm glad you asked that question. And I think somebody also asked that question about how do you, that balance I answered, I think. So honestly speaking, 5 years from now, for me, at this point in my life, right, and I'm talking very personally for myself, I've set really, really ambitious goals, right? For me, it's completely on my work front and for Health Basics to actually be in 89 cities. And I'm exact about the 89 cities. I know the 89 cities I want to be present in and the size I want my firm to be. So I see myself as, the pediatric healthcare or the go-to pediatric healthcare website online. So
that's nice to hear, ma'am. Thank you.
And there is one more question from my side.
Sure.
You said your son is 15 years old. It's a very difficult ways to manage. How do you manage a startup and being a mother? That's really would honest.
I'm very lucky that I have a husband who's totally supportive of this. And, so actually we laugh because in the house, right? So my son is 15, he's in 10th standard. He also has to study 12 hours a day. So we actually sit next to each other and we're studying. While he's studying, I'm working. So it makes him feel better that, I'm not watching TV or doing anything fun. I'm also being very busy. So, and I think it sets a great example for the children, right? When they see us working hard, and having goals. And I'm very open with my son about, for example, he'll see me being very upset at a few things. And I actually take time and explain to him saying, see, I'm very anxious and, and sad about this, but you see 2 days from now, I'm clearly overreacting. I know I am, and I don't want you to become like me. So I'm telling you what's wrong and what you shouldn't do. 2 days from now, you see the situation will resolve and I'll be happy. And all of this is just overreaction. So I tend to actually explain to my son what I'm going through. And even my disappointments I share with him, and my happiness, if he sees me very happy, then I'll explain to him. And I think that's very good learning for the children to see early on, right? We shouldn't tell them that, listen, everything is great, I'm doing very well. That would be misrepresenting, and I feel like they learn a lot from us. And so if they see us upset, and if we're trying to pretend that we're not upset, trust me, our children can tell. They're much smarter than us. So I really believe in being very open with my child, and I actually include him in all my things. I tell him, come and see, how my pitch is, and I'll tell him, listen, so bad that VC is asking me so many bad questions. How do you answer this? And I keep laughing at him. So try to make it, part of his journey as well, and not just yours. That way they feel involved in the whole process, and not like I'm working and he's, studying, and there's no connect. So that being said, I have a lot of help from my family as well, especially my husband. So that's, and he has a very set timing. So it really helps that if I have to work extra hours, then he's always there to kind of take care of my son.
So any more questions? If anybody has any questions, you can unmute and ask it, or we'll just wind up. I think that's about it. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. May I request Mr. K. Ravi, the Vice President of Coimbatore Management Association, to propose the vote of thanks. I think we had a really awesome presentation straight from the heart. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ravi, sir, over to you, sir.
Respected Chief Guest, Mrs. Swati Rokit, Chief Operating Officer, SNR, members from CMA, President, Secretary, and other committee members, students, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to each and every one of you. Madam, you started with inspiring to think big. Definitely your presentation was excellent and very useful to everyone. It was practical, completely practical. It came from your heart. Challenging the challenges, we understand really from your speech. And today, updation becomes the need of the hour. As the world is going through with a lot of challenges, the time is right for some introspection. Now, more than ever, the world needs founders, people who embrace uncertainty, see pattern in charts, and fearlessly build technologies that the human being can be taken to forward. To maximize the depth and scale of this technology, there is a need to address the shortfalls of the earlier period, no doubt. In short, there is a need to redefine entrepreneurship. It is believed that diversity enhances and expands the ecosystem's problem-solving capacity. Some innovation we have seen, Apple changed music and consumer electronics, Amazon changed retailing, Uber changed the taxi business itself. So there is definitely a need to redefine entrepreneurship. Your speech was very much addressed to that. And coming to your speech specifically, we understand first one, maybe the SWOT analysis about everyone. That's what you meant, strength, weakness, and whatever we have. I think that one has to go for before he starts a business or he enters into a new venture. That is very much true, because unless he understands himself, he cannot maybe be a successful businessman. So SWOT analysis is very important. Second, you're talking about experience in some field wherever you are in venturing into. Yes, we definitely need training, whatever field you are in. Some training from expertise, maybe experts, I think will definitely help you, because otherwise, once you start entering into a new field without knowing anything, very difficult maybe to pull along. I think that's very important. And you are talking about the do not be a sole co-founder. Maybe you maybe engage with others, the other co-founders who will be having expertise in finance, marketing, or operations, so that the collective effort and knowledge will help a lot. That's what today we see people. You take Infosys, for example, 3-4 people started today. The company in maybe 40 years has gone somewhere else. So definitely the one expertise in one field. So similarly, other expertise in other field will definitely, we talk about team effort and all that. So that's going to be in the long run. And luck, yes, there is an element needed in every activity, not only in business or not only in sports, every activity. But as you said, the timing is very important. The timing of business, how you enter. Like how you, in cricket, we used to say the timing of strokes. At the right time, the right place, the right stroke definitely gives you good result. Similarly, the business, we need that. And the fourth one, you talked about the health, very, very important. Because in Tamil, we used to say, Suvar illamal chitram thitta mudiyadu. And Lord Buddha puts it very clearly, every human being is author of his own health or disease. So the health, everyone should take care of, either you do some games or maybe yoga, meditation. I think because definitely we see a lot of difference when we do that, and after that you engage in your business or in your profession, speaks a lot. So that's a very, very important point to be underlined. Hobby. Yes, one patient which is needed, because that helps you to divert your activity. And again, when you come to the main activity, probably the productivity will increase. That's what you meant, no doubt at all. Then don't rush. Yes, patient. Be patient. Yes, definitely you need that. I will add one more thing. Not only that, be ethical. Maybe Swami Vivekananda put it, everything can be sacrificed for truth, but truth can never be sacrificed for anything. That's going to be lost in the long run. So be ethical, be patient, will definitely, results will come automatically. You talked about the failures. Yes, failures will come. We should not bother about that. But from day one, our motive must be very clear. As you said, we should know how to make money in the business or profession, maybe ethically. Waiting for a long run may not help, because sometimes too longer term will be there. So you should design. So in the process, automatically happiness will come. That's what all are related, interrelated. Now, love the work what you do, and automatically you will be loving the work in the long run. So whatever work we undertake, we have to really show our love. Automatically commitment will be there, dedication will be there. So all will join together. Definitely, it's, I think, very good presentation. Within a very short time, I think you made it everything right, challenging the challenges. You also mentioned about how you changed from health sector to this sector again. So change adoption is very important today. Nothing is permanent except in change. So how you adapt to the change very quickly and effectively is there in every activity today. That's what we understand. No doubt, madam, you are very clearly pointing out women are hardworking. Absolutely, there is no doubt. We take care of the profession. The wife takes care of profession plus household work. There is no doubt at all. We don't take care of household work at all. Yes, definitely, very true. So, like making projections scientifically and homework, anything what we do pakka homework before we design on everything. I think very, very effective and useful to maybe the youngsters, startups, people who are in business. So this will really, your speech will contribute a lot. These are some of the important takeaways which I could mention. So thank you, madam, for your excellent presentation once again. And really on the topic, which is the need of the hour. I think that's good. I think I thank Mr. Prashant Nair for organizing such a nice program, beneficial to everyone. Thanks to our President Jay Kumar Ramdas and Secretary Mr. Nitin Devaraj for the support and guidance. Thanks a lot to our CMA Secretariat, Mrs. Sujata and Mrs. Sundar Narasimhan, for effective coordination and organizing such nice meetings. Thanks to everyone who have participated, devoting their time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Swati. We had a very nice time and a wonderful session from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you all for coming today. And hope
we had some, I think, record attendance. Prashant must have noted it.
A lot of people on the YouTube also.
Yeah. Okay. Good night.